Hi, this is Scott from ZAO.
And this is Russ from ZAO.
And you are watching
Soundlink
SoundlinkTV.
TV.
What's up, everybody? Trent here with Soundlink TV here at the Radio Room in Greenville once again. This time we are here with the one and only ZAO. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Very good.
Awesome. So you guys are doing this. We were just talking about off camera about these fly-in shows and stuff, which is pretty unique. A lot of bands don't, unless they're like maybe Metallica or whatever, not flying to there's torch stops or anything. So how's that aspect of touring and playing shows been for you guys?
It's the most efficient way for our schedules to kind of allow for this type of thing. Most of us have families, jobs, and just separate lives apart from the band, but it still allows us to kind of come out and play every 2 or 3 months to play a few shows and play these songs and play some new ones, old ones. So it's been great.
Okay. Now, when you pick these places, obviously you're going to hit the big markets, where you got a lot of people and stuff. But especially with like streaming and stuff, with like Spotify showing where your most listeners are, is that something you guys do when you do these fly-ins? Is you fly to these locations where you have the most listeners, or do you guys just, all right, we're going to go to these shows, we're going to go to these places, we're going to go to these places, or how do you guys pick the schedules with this new, not really new, but different approach to playing shows and all that?
Social media approach. Well, we definitely check our analytics on like Spotify, the Instagram hits. We do a lot of our sales through Bandcamp, so like Bandcamp gives you like where people are downloading from. But realistically too, like we kind of will pick an area where we have friends, bands, or areas that like we have some sort of connection to. We've played before. Sometimes, we have played places where there weren't a ton of hits, but we'd want to just like, we had one time we went to Kentucky. We did like a beer release, so we basically played a show there, even though it wasn't one of the better markets. It ended up being a good show, though. So we use a lot of different reasons.
Okay. So what made you pick Greenville?
Honestly, like Greenville was, we definitely wanted to hit Atlanta, and then from Atlanta we were able to do a Nashville show. Greenville kind of popped up because the last thing we just did, we played with Worm's from here, and it was in proximity that made sense for us to drive to it, so it just kind of worked out that it went. We almost actually played a little further east in Carolina, but this one worked out. So.
Well, stoked to have you guys here today with us and everything. So, yeah. So, you guys have been a band for a while, numerous lineup changes and stuff. You guys have ZAO is a name with a ton of history behind it and stuff. And so, like, where you guys are at right now with the band and stuff, what's been your takeaway through this journey with this band, with your personal experiences with the band and everything, versus to where I guess you guys personally may have started in the band, or where the band started, to begin with?
So interestingly enough, we've been in we've maintained this lineup since 2006. But the current lineup, speaking for myself personally, I went to high school with Scott. I went to high school with Marty, who is the bass player. We went to high school with Jeff, who is the current drummer. And Dan was also he went to a separate high school, but we all grew up together playing music and kind of playing in separate bands growing up. So this is kind of, the current lineup, feels more like family than, anything else that kind of we've, than any of the other lineup changes that we've made in the past. So it's been great, and I think that's why it's been so consistent now for the past 12 years. And we've been even though that we might live in separate locations. Jeff lives in Brooklyn, I live in Huntington Beach, and the rest of the guys live in Pittsburgh. We've just found a nice little workflow to maintain the songwriting aspect and being able to go out and play a few weekend shows every couple of months.
Okay. Yep. So I like asking bands this question, especially bands who've been around for a while. So when you see your names, I assume you guys just think you're regular guys who play music and stuff, which is fair, that's true. But like when you have all these kids who are like, oh, this is a very influential band for the metalcore genre, or this is a band who is responsible for maybe other bands, one that comes to mind is Haste Today, the vocal styles, are very similar in my opinion. So what do you guys think about that? That name ZAO being, such a big name and such an influential name in the music scene?
That's a great question. It's hard for me for myself to understand that perspective. I personally don't listen to a lot of heavy music, but I appreciate the the amount of fans that have stuck with us throughout the years. I mean, I've always, even though that I'm not an original member of ZAO, I can still go back and appreciate what the previous members have done, before, I stepped in the band, or, which was Blood and Fire. And I listen to those songs. I've listened to the songs that, to the albums that I've been on personally, and in the, albums that I haven't been on. And I can, appreciate the music. So it's, I'm always, I'm a humble guy. So this isn't more of a ego boost when I come out and like do this stuff. It's just like, wow, I really have a great opportunity to keep doing this, and I'm, I'll be 40 in October. Like that's awesome for me. Yep.
What about you?
He kind of summed it up pretty well, but I mean, I don't think any of us in the band really we're all fans. So like all of us, I look up to so many different bands, and it's really hard for any of us to put ourselves in a position where like people look at us like we look at other bands, right? So for me, it doesn't feel like that. I don't know. I just feel like we have just kept moving. We keep moving. We're not doing anything that somebody else couldn't do. But we keep at it, and the friendship gets stronger. And there's a lot of aspects of the band that's harder to do than even just like writing and being influential, or any of that stuff. Like, so we just keep moving forward and don't really focus on like what the band is to people, because I think it's like too much of a weird thing to think that like anything we're all involved in has done anything like that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's unbelievable to know that we have influenced bands. Okay.
Now, something that's interesting is I was walking by the merch table. It looks like it said that an album from 2004 is getting repressed to vinyl, getting pressed to vinyl for the first time. But you guys said that this lineup's been around since 2006. So, what is that? Is that weird putting out some music that you guys didn't even write? And that's kind of funny, actually.
The weird thing about it is, me, Dan, and Russ have been basically the core of the band since 1999. Okay. So, the Funeral of God record that's being pressed, actually Russ was in. So what I think, me, Dan, and Russ have been on pretty much everything since that time period. Jeff and Marty came in a little later, so the five of us have been solidified since 2006. But so like the bulk of who's in the band wrote those records. But to be fair, there was a label that just re-released the very first ZAO record that was before like Tooth and Nail or anything. Yeah. And we definitely are an outlier, and we've just mentioned to people like, hey, this is coming out, but we don't feel like we should take any kind of, ownership over that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it is definitely like a weird line to walk, because we've been in it pretty consistently for a really long time. And I think most people, if they think of what ZAO is, it's probably Blood and Fire on. But that early band is super, super important, and we always maintain that we're nothing without them starting, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that we're able to do now does include like what me, Dan, and Russ have been involved in.
All right, so speaking of that, any new music coming out that we can look forward to?
Yeah, there's actually going to be a good bit.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit.
We're going to be doing a split 7-inch on a smaller label called Mind Over Matter. That should be out sometime at the end of the year. We're probably going to release another one of our own like special edition 7-inches that will help fund the next full-length record. Okay. And the full-length, the drums are finished, so we're hoping the next full-length will be out sometime in 2019. So, and we're still writing. Russ is writing stuff. We're going to be just trying to pile things on, and whenever we get enough to put out, we'll put it out.
Okay, sweet. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. Got a couple people, basically everybody's asking the same question a different way and stuff, and it's more so like you guys all have side jobs and stuff, and doing tattoos and everything. So like, where do you guys like find the time to do this and everything, and how do you guys manage the quote unquote real world with the band and everything?
It's kind of strange. I worked for an advertising agency back in Long Beach, California. I'm a full-time visual effects artist, which it's a fancy term for, I work in animation. So my sort of creative outlet, I'm able to sort of, make time for that anytime between like 6 and 12 p.m. So that's kind of how that is. But it's hard. You know, I don't have a family personally. I live in a 470 square foot house, you know, 2 blocks from the beach in Orange County, and
Sounds nice, actually.
it's wonderful. It's, you know, not, you know, it's not humid, it's not cold, so. But no, I try my best to make time. I mean, that's kind of, I think it kind of speaks for all of us. We have to make time in order for us to, you know, for this band to progress into something, to keep writing new albums and writing, you know, promoting these albums, and just to say, hey, we're still here, you know, in 2018. And so it's, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're just, you know, we're doing as best as we can to adapt to our personal situations to make the best music possible.
Okay. Yep. And what about you? What's your I guess, real life job?
I actually work for a friend's company that was started that specializes in like vintage kind of video games, vintage like collectibles, all that kind of stuff. So my work schedules, I only do like 10-hour days, like 4 times a week. So I have a pretty good amount of time, but I'm also like, I have a daughter, so you know, there's like I have some family. So I think, I mean, any musician will tell you it's like so much of a part of you that like I wouldn't even be able to like live without doing stuff. So I make time regardless of what it is. You know, I find there's days where my daughter's in school, and I'll have like a good 5-hour window where I can go up and woodshed things and write. Sometimes I'll just be sitting like at home watching a movie with them, and then I'll like have an idea and I'll have to excuse myself, run up, record it real quick. So you just, I mean, when this is in your blood, you got to just get it out. So I think regardless of whatever I'm doing, I'm always going to have to find time for it.
Does your daughter think you're a rock star and everything because of what you do?
She thinks it's stupid. she actually makes fun of it. Like because she goes, Daddy's going to go on his weekend and do his rah music. You know?
Incredible.
Well, that's funny. All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time today and stuff. Looking forward to what you guys have coming out and everything. So
thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. I'm Trent with Soundlink TV. You're watching Soundlink TV here with ZAO, who we'll be watching later. So thanks for watching.